Welcome to episode 51 of the Hoop Threads podcast. Got my NBA Roundtable back with me, Tyler, Sollenne, and Jordan Lyndaker. We're just going to run through over-unders real quick for the NBA this season to give you guys hopefully a head start on some of the last gambling that we all plan on doing before the games start this evening. So, Jordan, go ahead and get us started with our first team.
Yeah, we're going to take this all alphabetical throughout the whole league. So we're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. I missed badly on this team last year. They hit their over, and Aaron was the only one to hit that. I feel like I've corrected course. Their over-under I've got 47.5 wins, and I am a strong lean to the over. I've got that locked in as a level 3 confidence pick. I've ranked all mine levels 1 through 3. A couple brief notes on it. They hit their over by 5.5 games last season, and that was nearly a 20-win pace per 82 game improvement from 2019 to 2020. 27-11 record after Nate McMillan came on as interim coach. That's a 70% winning percentage. And I think all they need to do is not even hit 60 this year to hit their over. Long being out till January is really the only negative strike against them they got going into the season. So heavy over for Atlanta.
Sollenne?
Yeah, I got the over for them as well. I mean, Trae Young can't play a lick of defense, but they're so deep that they can make up for it. So I'm feeling the over for them.
What was the line again, Jordan?
47.5.
Yeah, and I've seen 46.5 on some books, but I pulled everything off of I think BetMGM as of yesterday or 2 days ago. So
I'm gonna make it a clean. Yeah. I'm gonna make it a clean sweep for the over. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, Roya's favorite team after we've listened to some Bill Simmons pods, the Boston Celtics. I'm locking over pretty heavy again. It's set at 45.5, and I'm a level 3 confidence on this. Last season was really a worst case scenario for them with COVID, although I am a little worried. I see Jaylen Brown already has some COVID protocol issues that are threatening his availability to start the season. Kind of thought there was some weird chemistry too with Brad Stevens as the coach last year. The team just kind of lacked a little punch, like a little guts. And I think they may get that with the new coach, Ime Udoka. Team should improve defensively, getting Horford back and getting more minutes from Time Lord. 5 of the past 6 seasons, they've been on a 48-plus win pace. You know, we've had 1 or 2 seasons shortened, but 48-plus wins would hit that over for them, and they've been doing it consistently. So I'm heavy on the Celtics over level 3 confidence.
All right, give me the over as well. I mean, Boston missed more games due to COVID than any other team last year, which, you know, some people might not think is a big factor, but I think that that's pretty significant. They're also a little bit deeper this year. I think having Schroeder there to replace in and out Kemba, or an injured Kemba from last year, will make them improve. Plus, they play in the East. Give me the over.
Again, I'm uncomfortable right now because I'm going to take the over as well. I'm definitely not as high as Simmons is as far as them being in contention for the 3rd seed in the East. That's pretty wild to me, but I will take the over on this one. So what we got next, Jordan?
Well, that leads right into our next one, because if you want to make the case for the Celtics as a dark horse for the 3 seed, you could believe that the Brooklyn Nets are going to implode. Their over-under is 56.5, which is the top number for any team in the league. I've got the under, but I only have a 1 confidence level because it's really tough to bet against the superstar. They basically have the NBA's version of the Avengers there. I am worried, though, already issues with Kyrie's availability. I put out on the group text this morning, you know, what's the over-under 10% chance he never plays a game again in the NBA? Like, I think there's a legitimate chance he could just walk away from everything. And you've got major issues with Durant and Harden, you know, resting, getting older, having to sit out for injuries. You know, James is going to tweak a hamstring 2 times this year for sure. They were the top team in the NBA in win totals. Like I said, they do cash their under at approximately a 60% rate. So whatever team going into the season that has that top total, they tend to just be overrated by Vegas and the public. So I do have the under there. Also, don't think they're going to take the regular season as seriously. They want to get to playoffs healthy. You know, they're not really super concerned about home court. So slightly into the under, 1 confidence level.
Sollenne? Sorry, I muted Sollenne because he had some background noise. You took the under. I'm going to have our first disagreement here. I'm going to take the over. I like a lot of the young guys. I think Patty Mills was a big addition to step in for Kyrie, kind of run the show, hit some big shots when the time comes. He's, a good veteran for the locker room. I just really like that pickup. And, I like the draft picks that they have with Cam and with my guy Dayron. I question, how ready, NBA ready both of them are going to be this season. But I think they're going to come in and play their role pretty well. And Kevin Durant, still my opinion, is the best player in the league. So I think they ride it out, and I think they understand now the importance of home court with how last year played out. And that's something that they, really shoot for. And I think some of those young guys are going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, Cam Thomas has been a bucket at every level of his, basketball career. I'm pretty sure he's the all-time leading scorer for Oak Hill Academy, and he was the all-time leading scorer for the EYBL as well, as getting all sorts of buckets at LSU. So I think a lot of people are lower on him for whatever reason. So, Sollenne, what you got for the Nets?
I also want the under on them just because of the fact with Kyrie being in and out because of COVID. Then as soon as he gets wise and gets the vaccine, and then when he comes back, he'll be in and out because of injury. With KD and James Harden, dudes don't typically get more healthy as they get older. All it takes is like one or two of those guys to be out, and suddenly like that team, although they have some big names on the bench, their production is a ways behind them. So give me the under.
I think I heard a stat, and it was, the Nets won close to 70% of their games when Harden played last year. So I think that they can ride that storm out a bit with him and KD. I mean, it's just going to be impossible to keep up with them offensively. So, and the Paul Millsap addition was big as well too. So, Jordan, let's move on to our next team.
Yeah, Paul will be big for his 6 minutes a night that he plays. I've got one quick stat on the Nets while you're talking about that 70% total. All the big three played a total of, I believe it was 8 games together last year in the regular season, Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. So there's definitely some upside there. This could easily be a team that, wins 65 games. Charlotte Hornets, 38.5 is the over-under line I've got. I am under, but I do not feel great about it. I've got it marked as a 1. Numbers seems pretty on the nose to me. I do think it's a young team that's going to struggle defensively. They did lose Cody Zeller, and I'm not sure that I like Bouknight and Kai Jones long term, but when you're expecting them to come in and fill important rotational spots, I think Bouknight could maybe score 15 points a game, depending if he can get enough run in his rookie season. But I'm not sure that he's going to bring everything else the floor that they'll need. I think for me, this is also a bet against Gordon Hayward's health status, and he's been oft injured throughout the years. One last note on just a historical note, the Hornets have hit their over in 4 of the last 6 seasons. Each time they've hit that over, they have covered it by more than 3 wins. So if they were to follow up on that this year, they would finish above 500.
You had them over, you said, right?
No, I'm sorry. I have them under, a very small under.
Gotcha. Sollenne?
I got the over. Give me a full season of LaMelo Ball after the steps that he took, as much as it hurts me to say that. Also, I think that there's a center spot, whereas Cody Zeller was pretty good defensively, offensively, not so much. But I think that they're going to get a good mix of offense and defense with kind of this bullpen of centers that they have, starting with Mason Plumlee that they brought in. Also, if they give PJ Washington more minutes at the center, although he's a bit undersized, his block rate has always been high. And then I also like some Jalen McDaniels at center. So I think that them plus, like I said, with Ball taking another step, if you can get anything out of Bouknight, Miles Bridges, who knows, and Gordon Hayward, if he can stay at least semi-healthy, give me the over.
I think they have a really interesting blend of talent. I'm going to take the over as well. I'm an irrational Kai Jones believer, although I don't think he's going to be ready this year. I think it's going to be another year or two before, we kind of see the signs of stuff. He's just an athlete for right now. He's got to learn a lot about the game of basketball. But, JT Thor is another rookie that they brought in that I think is intriguing just at his size. If he's just fit into that role of just being a wing shooter and being a little switchable defensively. We'll see how he is defensively against NBA guys, but I mean, you got LaMelo running the break with, James Bouknight, Bridges, Hayward on the wing, Kai Jones. Jalen McDaniels, Kelly Oubre. I mean, that's just a lot of talent that I think he's going to kind of be the engine that makes that go. So give me the over on that. What's the next one we got, Jordan?
Chicago Bulls, 42.5. Bulls have not hit this win total number. They'd have to win 43 games to hit cash their over. They've not hit that number in any of the past 6 seasons. Number does seem pretty sharp to me and pretty spot on. They're going to get 4 games each against Detroit and Cleveland in that division, and they're not expected to be very good this season. I think the young core of Lonzo, Levine, Pat Williams is kind of interesting, but DeRozan has never really been an analytics darling, and I think Vucevic is a scheme breaker defensively, honestly, just consistently posting defensive ratings above 110. And I don't believe in them figuring it out quickly enough and putting it all together. And I think the middle of these conferences is kind of just muddled up a bit more. So I'm leaning the under with a 1 confidence level on the Bulls at 42.5.
The under on a team that has Tony Bradley. Wow.
No doubt.
A little surprising, but I'm actually going to take the over. I mean, this one is either this thing is going to come together and it's going to be pretty strong, or it's going to be a disaster. Because like you mentioned, defensively with Vooch, DeRozan, and Levine. Yeah, I still call him Levine. I don't think that they're going to be able to make up for the strong guard play, like defensively up front with Ball and Caruso. Now, but I don't know. Something in my gut tells me that the East is weak, so they're going to be able to be one of those top teams. And depending on how things go with like some drama for some of the teams ahead of them, they could be a sneaky play for the 4 seed. So I don't know. Something in my gut telling me on that one, I'm pounding the over.
I'm going to go slightly under. I think that there's a trade to be made, amongst here. You got a lot of mouths to feed, offensively with DeMar DeRozan, with Levine. Alize Johnson, when he comes in, is going to want the ball. Vucevic definitely wants the ball. Kobe White's a score first type guard. So, I mean, I think that they're close to being, a solid, 4 or 5 seed team, and they still could get there. I just think there's going to be some dysfunction at the beginning of the season that's going to kind of impede their progress. So I'm going to do a slight under on that, even though I do not feel great about that. What we got next, Jordan?
Alize Johnson, he says.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a bunch of dudes that are just looking to score. So we'll see.
We're going to get to the first one of our teams, Cleveland Cavaliers, over under set at 26.5. I got 3 notes on this one. I think there's a high chance of in-season instability with the team. There's been Colin Sexton trade rumors. They've been loosely linked to a Ben Simmons deal, which, as each passing day goes by, it doesn't seem he's going to last in Philly. I really don't understand the roster construction. I think they've got to move off a big man. Proy has been pitching Kevin Love deals for the past 5 years, and they've all been just incredibly unrealistic. But they've got to free up some minutes. You sign Jared Allen to this extension, you get Markkanen, and that's all good and well. But then you take Evan Mobley at number 3, and you've got to play Evan Mobley. He looks like could be potentially the best player in the draft. I just don't know who's going to score consistently besides their guards. I guess maybe Markkanen can get his shot together. He's just always seemed a little streaky to me. Some historical notes on them. They've hit their under in each of the past 5 seasons. I believe that's including the last season or 2, I think, after LeBron left the second time. And a JB Bickerstaff coach team, even when he's been an interim coach for part of the season, has never hit their over on win totals. It only takes 27 to get there, so I am pretty torn. I was pretty heavily in the camp of over to begin with, but with some of the historical data I threw out there, I've switched to an under, but I don't think it's going to be by much. I bet they win 25, 26 games. So give me the under with 1 confidence level.
Sollenne?
Yeah, I was feeling like if they had like a full season of Sexton and assuming that they could trade one of their big men for a wing, like then I was initially kind of feeling the over, but the more I think about it, Dan Gilbert, he's going to mess something up. Give me the under.
No comment.
It's as simple as that.
No
it's not the worst option.
No comment on the ownership part. I mean, I'm irrationally higher on them than you guys. I believe I'm going to take the over, which I feel like you guys knew was the biggest lock of this whole venture for me. I mean, there's several trades to be made here. I think the only way they don't hit their over is if they just completely tank the entire season, looking to get one last good draft pick before, really stocking up and really going after it. Exactly what Jordan said as far as just too many big men with I forgot that they signed Taco Fall, Jared Allen.
He's a two-way. Don't worry about him.
Kevin Love, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, I just think that you got some solid vets with Ricky Rubio joining the team, and I really hope that he stays there throughout the duration of the season. I don't think 26.5 is, or 27 rather, is a big number to get to. So I'm going to take the over on that.
Do our second team of our favorite teams. So we got Sollenne's Dallas Mavericks here, and we'll see if we can start busting through these. I've got the under. I was debating between a 1 and 2 confidence level. I'm going to stick with a 1. That number's 48.5. They're over under. I think it's a massive coaching downgrade that cannot be overstated from Rick Carlisle to Jason Kidd. I don't think there's a lot of two-way. I don't think there's a lot of two-way players, on this roster that fit around Luka. I do like Reggie Bullock. I think that was a very sneaky, underrated signing, but I don't know who else can consistently get 15 points a night and stay healthy. For what it's worth, the last 6 seasons, which I've kept notes on over-unders for, they've only hit the over in 2 of those seasons, and they have not won 49 games in the last 6 seasons, which is the number they need to win to cash this over. I've got the under.
Hey, man, we were tanking. Give us a break. I'd be proud of those. No, but yeah, so the Mavericks here, they are the second toughest hit team by COVID. Especially early in the season, it was just absolutely brutal before things leveled off and they started to improve. But I do like some of the sneaky moves that they made. Like Bullock was one of them. Another one is Frankie Smokes coming in, just to be like a kind of spot defender. Like I don't imagine him getting heavy rotation minutes, but just someone that we can throw in maybe at the end of games when we need a stop. But I mean, this is the toughest over under I think that I've had with all the teams, just because I don't really know exactly how the team is going to look under Kidd versus Carlisle. But I mean, based on the early tea leaves, it sounds like he's taken a lot of great, good steps to like build relationships with guys on the team. But although that didn't really inspire too much confidence because they might be buddies, but it doesn't mean that he knows how to drop a play. But at the end of the day, I'm going to bet on Luka. Give me the over.
There we go. I'm gonna leave Jordo on his island of unbelief. I think they can get there. This is not something I feel super confident about. But when you have a star player in this league, good things can happen. I think the buy-in will probably be there from Luka. And I actually think that, Ja'Cory McLaughlin could eventually have a decent role. He's signed to a two-way contract with them. And I think they figure it out. So give me the slight over, even though I feel like that one might come back to bite me. So what's the next one we got, Jordan?
It's been a minute since I dropped a level 3 confidence pick on you. And I've got one here. Denver Nuggets 47.5 over. They have cashed this number in 5 of the past 6 seasons, they've cashed their over in 5 of the past 6 seasons, and all seasons with Mike Malone as head coach. Each of the past 3 seasons, their win pace exceeded 48, which would cash the over this year. If you guys were paying attention to some of the ratings and numbers for the Nuggets after the Aaron Gordon trade last season, they were historically great. I think they retooled their bench a bit, which will help with depth. And like, when have we seen an MVP winner candidate just be like so disrespected as Nikola Jokic? I know he's not, all world defensively, but it just seems like a team with Jokic and Gordon and the parts around them and that tremendous home court advantage is going to stumble its way to 48 wins. You got to imagine they're getting like at least 30 of their wins at home out of 41. And then they just got to find 18 road wins, which is less than 500 on the road. And the trump card for it is I don't think this number bakes in anything with Michael Porter's potential improvement. He's the current betting favorite for MIP, and I think he's just going to continue to take steps this season. Give me the over, lock this one in.
So yeah, I'm also going to take the over just because I feel like that their bench is strong enough to make up for Jamal Murray missing probably about 3/4 of the season. So give me the over on them as well.
Man, that one's tough. How you said he's out most of the season, right? Until the spring?
Yeah. Yep.
Good opportunity for my man Bones Highland to go off.
Early returns are encouraging on Bones.
Yeah, he can definitely go. I'll take the over. That one I'm definitely not super confident on. I'm interested in seeing what Will Barton's role will be this year. Now that he's back and healthy, and with all of the guys they've got going off their bench with MPJ, some of the young guys, and seeing where he and Aaron Gordon fit in is going to be interesting. As well as the backup point guard. Well, now the starting point guard with Jamal Murray out, just kind of seeing who's handling the rock between. I'm assuming it's going to be Monte Morris when the season starts. So, even though I hate to go with a team that has Austin Rivers, I'll take the over on them. So, go ahead, Jordan, with the next one.
Don't forget the great agitator, Facu Campazzo. The Detroit Pistons, these guys burned me last year. I was a little bit too heavily invested in them, thought they were a sneaky run for the play-in. Instead, they got the number 1 pick. I'm going over again. The number's 24.5. That's a very minimal improvement in win percentage from last season, but I tossed and turned on this one. I think they're a young team with growth potential. I think Cade Cunningham is an overall floor raiser, although there's been little rumors that maybe things aren't perfect there with that marriage of him in Detroit. But, they had the number 1 pick and they had the chance to take who they wanted. So I think it's going to work out. Dwayne Casey teams have missed their overs in the past 2 seasons, which is a little concerning. But before that, he'd hit them in 6 straight seasons. I think he's a great coach that's underrated. And I think he's good for player development on younger teams like this. And a couple numbers go along with a note I made a second ago. Their win percentage would only need to go up. They won 27.5% of their games last season, and 30.5% this season would cash the over. They just got to go 25 and 57. So slightly the over.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. I feel like they know that they're not a completed product. They have to tank. Plus, I'm not 100% sold on Cade, his inefficiency inside. I'm not a full-on believer in his court vision. And I think that it's going to be a long season. I think he might get hot for stretches, but I think he's also going to get cold and hit a rookie wall. No spoilers for my rookie of the year pick, but it won't be him. So I'm taking the under.
the irrational shade for Cade Cunningham, man, you will not find that here. I'm taking the over here too. Killian Hayes is was my guy from that draft. Was hurt for a good amount.
He's another bum
last year. Hey man, we'll see at the end of the year. So, and obviously a lot of DMV bias with all the different players, Jeremy Grant, Luka Garza, and all of them that came from my area. And I just really think that they have a lot of switchable guys defensively. I think that they have they're pretty deep at most of the positions. And I actually like Isaiah Livers a lot, the rookie from Michigan. I think if their guards go through any injury issues, which is very possible from the durability stuff that Killian showed in his first season, and whatever is going on with Cade, if there is any drama with Cade, I really think that he could step in and kind of facilitate and run things because he was just a really underrated guy at Michigan. So give me the over on that one.
Already got slight regret on this next one because they were one of 4 teams that played last night, and I'm on the under, and they won their season opener. Golden State Warriors at 48.5. Another one I tossed and turned on. Didn't feel great about the under, but some teams have to lose in the West. I don't think there's going to be 6 teams that win 50-plus games there this season. I think there's just a little bit too much depth at the middle and the bottom for that. I'm worried about the aging Warriors core. I think they're going to need more rest, and they do play in what I would say is the toughest division in the NBA. So they're going to get 4 games against all those teams. A lot of uncertainty with Klay Thompson's return this season and integrating him in after some, devastating injuries to return from. Their on-off splits with Steph were horrific last year, and they had to close at 14-5 just to cash their over, which was quite devastating for me. That's the main reason I lost our little wager last year.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. My last point, I was just talking with Troy about this before we went live, but James Wiseman was a big net negative in his rookie season to the point where like they basically were just much better with him off the court. But I don't see how you can not play somebody you took with the number 2 overall pick significant minutes. Although last night kind of, I don't know if he was injured or really, they're feeling out their rotations early in the season. You've got to give him heavy developmental minutes, even if you're just trying to showcase him for a trade. I do like him long term, and I think he could potentially still kind of have a maturation path similar to that of DeAndre Ayton. But for this season, as it relates to their over under, I think Wiseman's a negative, so I'm leaning on the under.
Sollenne?
Yeah, I'm also leaning the under, not just because Wiseman's a bit of a bum until he figures out how to use his athleticism to his advantage. But I mean, they are going to have to play him some heavy minutes, and he is a big net negative. Also, give Moses Moody more minutes. He only played like 5 minutes last night. The disrespect. But the main reason I'm picking the under is because, Steph he's their guy. And the only reason that they got their over last year is because he was pretty much healthy. And if he misses any stretch of games, which, what is he, like 34, 35 now? Like, I just feel like a rolled ankle is probably going to come at some point. And when that happens, I don't think that they're going to be able to hit 48 wins, which is what they need to catch their over. So give me that under. But all due love to them for securing that jersey for me.
Thank you. I'm gonna make it a sweep with the under. I just think that, like everything you mentioned, as far as Thompson being out for a good portion of the season, if not the entire season, just managing Steph's minutes. He's super competitive, and I've always respected that about him. But I just don't know that with this roster that they're gonna try to end the season with the same team. I think Wiggins could very likely be on the move. I could see them moving Wiseman. I think that they're basically just going to try to sneak into the playoffs, make a little noise, and then, retool for next year and get after it there. I really liked what I saw from, I'm going to butcher his name, but Nemanja Bjelica. That's how
Nemanja Bjelica.
Bjelica, that's what it is. I knew I was going to butcher that.
Nemanja Bjelica.
I liked a lot of the little things that he did last night. And Andre Iguodala is one day going to be a phenomenal coach. I'm surprised he's still out there, but definitely looking forward to him eventually being an NBA coach or a college coach. So that's enough on them. Let's move to the next team.
Yeah, he's closer to a coach than an NBA player right now, man. He ought to be on sidelines already.
He's still shredded, though. I don't know how, but he is. But all right. What's this team?
We are on to the Houston Rockets, over under 27.5. I am a heavy lean to the under. It is a level 2 confidence pick for me. There's uncertainty with the long-term status of John Wall. I don't even know if he's dressing for them to start the season. A very young team that has basically no incentive to compete, especially in the second half of the season. Like, yeah, their young guys are going to try to compete and get better. But I just don't think that's going to really pan out, especially as the season goes on. They've hit this, they're under in 4 of the past 6 seasons, and they have missed their over-under win total by more than 15 wins in 2 separate seasons, which is really difficult. You have to just really underachieve your expectations to miss by that much, and to do it 2 times in 6 seasons is pretty remarkable. They've just been a franchise that's had a lot of ups and downs lately, and they've been on the downswing. Love a lot of the young guys they have, but just don't see the incentive for them to try to get to 28 wins this year. Give me the under.
Sollenne?
Yeah, I've got about 10 minutes here, so we got to fly. But for the Rockets, you got the ultimate green light for Jalen Green and a team that has no incentive to win. Give me the under.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a clean sweep with the under, although I'm kind of keeping an eye on Christian Wood and hoping that he can find a spot with a little bit more opportunity.
Or he gets traded.
Yeah. Which is where he'll find more opportunity.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Let's fly. Indiana Pacers, 42.5. I've got the over at a 2 confidence level. They've been within striking distance of this win pace number in each of the past 6 seasons. Even last season, when it was kind of a disaster, they weren't that far off it. I think Rick Carlisle's potential to be a team-changing coaching upgrade. Team has continuity. I do expect a little positive regression injury-wise with them. And they also had a 13-23 home record last season. I don't expect that to repeat. I imagine they are above 500 at home. So yeah, I've got the over. They just have to go 43 and 39 to cash it. So give me the over.
Sollenne.
Yeah. Also, I mean, they're getting Miles Turner back. Pretty soon they'll have Karis LeVert back, and eventually they'll get TJ Warren back. Softer conference, plus Rick Carlisle is the ultimate floor raiser. Give me that's an easy over.
Over for me as well. Although I'm definitely going to say that Jordan just picked it because they have Dwayne Washington Jr. on a two-way. don't think you're with that one. What's the next?
Yeah, I forgot about that. The Clippers, and oh my gosh, did their lines vary? So what I've got on BetMGM was 45.5, but I've seen it as low as 42.5. At the lower number, I think I've got to like the over, but at 45.5, I'm taking the under with a 1 confidence level. You're looking at no Kawhi for the entire regular season, I would assume. I think there's major injury and regression concerns for main players on the team. Paul George was playing like 47, 46 minutes a night in some of these playoff games. And they did make the conference finals, so they didn't get a super long off season. And I just think there's a lot of regression from some of the main stars there. I don't know that Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann are, really just going to be doing that long term. They're in a tough division and conference. They have a schedule that's loaded with lots of travel this year. It's, I think, one of the top 5 or 10 worst ones in the league. Someone's got to drop off in the West. And I think it'll be them. I think they'll probably slot in right around, 43, 44 wins. I think Ty Lue's proven himself to be a very good coach that really excels in the playoffs. I'm just interested to see how he manages this team in the regular season when they don't necessarily have the option to, they don't have Kawhi and Paul healthy, so they can't coast and rest one of the guys. So I'm curious to see how he manages the locker room. Give me the under.
Okay.
Fuck them dudes. Fuck Ty Lue. Give me the under.
That's one way to go. All right. I'm also going to make it a clean sweep for the under. Although I am interested in tuning in here and there to see how Keon Johnson pans out, especially in just seeing how Ty Lue uses him. I think that Paul George could definitely just kind of cop an attitude midway through the year. But anyways, I don't need any more slander with him. There's enough of that for me on the record. Give me the under.
We're going to go crosstown. LA Lakers, 52.5 is the number. I'm over with a 2 confidence level, and just like the Warriors last night, I'm not feeling quite as great about it today, but I'm going to try not to overreact to one game. 3-star players in the fold. Westbrook still carries that star level, I think, around the league and around his peers, even if we don't think he's that great of a player. But I think it's going to be easier to rest players and still beat lesser teams. If you recall, Lakers did start 18-6 last season and had far and away the league's best defense before LeBron and Anthony Davis. And my last note is, are you really going to bet on LeBron just to have 2 straight down years? We don't need to go into the GOAT conversation now, but he's in, top 2, 3, whatever of all time. I think that's fairly inarguable at this point. And I just don't think he's going to have 2 straight down seasons. Give me the over. 2 level confidence.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers, they already got big injuries. Taylor Horton-Tucker, who's probably LeBron's last big trade piece, I guess. And Jordan's boy, Malik Monk, already set to miss time. So is Trevor Ariza. It's only a matter of time until Bron and fragile AD miss time. Give me the under.
What was the total again? 52?
52.5.
52.5. Yeah, give me the under as well. You move on.
All right. Yeah, level 3 confidence. Let's bring another one back. Memphis Grizzlies, 41.5. I am pounding this over. The win percentage needed to cash is less than last season, somewhat significantly. In their last 2 seasons, Memphis has hit their over by a combined 17 wins. So that's like 8-9 wins a season. They've been over their number. I think there's tons of candidates for leaps in growth this season. Ja Morant, first and foremost amongst them. Hopefully, Jaren Jackson is still going to be grinding and healthy now that he's got that contract extension, not to miss a good chunk of the season. I think they could get a little more out of Brandon Clark too. I think he kind of fell off a little bit unexpectedly. Just think it's a very deep team that's like I said, due for positive regression injury-wise. And they showed me something playing the Jazz in the first round. This is just a team that they are never going to give up on a game. And that alone, that's going to win them some games. So I'm pounding the over.
Sollenne.
Yeah, I'm going to save the stats I have on this team for a future pod that we're going to do on the season awards. But just give me the over. I think Ja's going to take a leap, and Jerry and Jackson Jr. being back is big for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 41.5 is way too low of a number for me. Give me the over as well.
Miami Heat, 48.5. I have the under with a 1 confidence level, and I could see this going any which way. They've cashed the over in 4 of the past 6 seasons. Just something to think about with Eric Spoelstra being one of the best coaches in the league. Usually is able to optimize his teams and roster over the long haul. But I do think there's injury and rest concerns with Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. I think they're more likely to prioritize rest and being ready for the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of proved it a little bit last season. You know, they weren't really worried about the Milwaukee matchup. It come back to bite them last year. But Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler are dogs. You know, they believe they can go out there and, you know, win a 2-on-2 battle with, you know, pick any 2 players in the league. So they're not going to be that worried about seeding and whatnot. I think the division likely to be more competitive this season, obviously minus Orlando. And the Heat being in the southeast corner of the U.S. always have a pretty rough travel schedule, but it's particularly onerous for them this season. So give me the under for that reason.
Yeah, also taking the under. These dudes don't care about the regular season, and they're going to be conservative with their bets. But I think this is where I'm going to have to tap out, boys.
All right.
You got the rest of my picks. You can just read them on. If any of my over-unders are deemed sus, I will explain them when we get together next time.
Sounds great, man.
I'll take it easy.
All right.
I am going to, stamp my claim to Heat Island. Apparently, I'm definitely taking the over on this. I just think they have vets. You know, they have vets that are going to get it done. You know, you got Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. You know, may miss some time here and there, but for the culture, for what the Heat do. He's kind of the perfect player. I know they've been looking at him for quite some time. Bam, Duncan. Once Victor Oladipo gets back, I think he'll be a good boost for them as well. And I'm going to make a prediction as far as like an underrated player that I think will surprise a lot of people. Marcus Garrett on a 2-way contract from Kansas, 6'5", just switchable defender, just gets after it, gets into dudes, gets into the paint. And scores, you know, on floaters and finishes at the rim. Offensively, I mean, he's definitely not a shooter. I don't really think he can stretch it to 3. It's going to be a couple of years before he has that skill. But I think Spoelstra and the Heat are going to use him properly, you know, getting after it defensively and, you know, using him to eat up some of those minutes, you know, when some of those guys, you know, Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry miss time. I think he'll step right in and, you know, find guys, but, you know, score in the paint pretty efficiently and just lock up defensively. So I like him a lot. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, another team that played last night got your defending reigning champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, at 54.5. I've got the over on that with a confidence level of 2. So kind of, I wanted to go 3, but there's some reasons to doubt it, specifically last season. They have won 60-plus games in 2 of the past 3 seasons. I think Mike Budenholzer is a good regular season coach who kind of earned some respect and proved his chops, you know, in last season's run as well. I think the team's got a little more depth than last season. I'm concerned about players resting, especially after the short off season. But Milwaukee does tend to crush inferior competition. They have great historical records over the last couple of years against sub 500 teams, which tends to translate over multiple seasons. And I think the biggest thing is Giannis doesn't know how to half-ass it. Like when he's out there, he's playing balls to the wall. And I think we saw him take a step last year, and I think he's just going to stay on that level. So I've got Milwaukee in the over.
Rodney Hood for MVP, question mark?
Yeah, maybe MIP. Comeback player of the year.
throw $5 on that. So Sollenne has the over for this one, and I'm going to follow him with the over as well. They just, like you said, that like there aren't really any nights off with Giannis. You know, he raises the level of the guys around him. I think it's interesting, you know, some of the stuff they added around the margin, you know, with Grayson Allen, Justin Robinson. And I really like the rookie that they have, Mamu. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but 6'11" rookie from Seton Hall. I think eventually
he got a better run last night, I think.
Yeah, I think he can stretch it, and they're just deep, and they have a good culture. They play together. Give me the over on that.
Yeah, and they'll be a great buyout candidate, throughout the season, or trade
That too.
candidate if they find more pieces. So,
That too.
Minnesota Timberwolves. Man, this has been a really trendy team. The number's at 35.5. It moved a lot in the past week. I think it was 2 full wins lower. I've got the under with a 2 confidence level. They've cashed their under in 5 straight seasons. I mean, this, when you think about it, it's just one of the biggest laughingstock franchises, of the past decade, 20 years. Of the unders that they've cashed in the past 5 seasons, 4 of those have been by more than 5 wins. So they've just really underachieved versus expectations. The thing that gives me pause in the argument for the over is that the team really did show tangible improvement under Chris Finch. They closed 14-19 to finish the season, but you wonder how much of that was noise because they were going against teams that had kind of mentally checked out. Basically, any team that's linked to a potential Ben Simmons trade rumor, I am just worried about in-season stability with as well. And I think there's been enough rumors there that Ben could end up there. I like the under for the Wolves. I mean, is Minnesota really going to go 36-46? That seems like a lot, especially after what they did last season.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, with their GM stepping down. Carl Anthony Towns kind of took to Twitter to just be like, what? Like, what? I think he said WTF. It's just like, what is even happening? Whether he deserved it or not, I haven't really read into the allegations and stuff like that. I think that stability, that lack of stability going into the season isn't great. And I didn't really understand how their pieces fit, regardless, Patrick Beverly and D'Angelo Russell, on the same team, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley, some of these guys. I like Balmaro a lot. I really hope that he's given an opportunity to play, especially if they do kind of pack it in this year. Interesting to see if Jay McDaniels kind of continues to develop as well. And their 2-way guys are guys that I definitely like. McKinley Wright from Colorado, the rookie point guard. I think he's going to have a long career in the league, just be a real solid guy that can shoot it and run the offense. And Nathan Knight, the big man from William & Mary, turned a lot of heads in Atlanta last year, ended up out in Minnesota via trade. So they got some pieces, but the dysfunction just leads me straight to the under. So let's move on to the next one. What you got, Jordan?
What Sollenne have on the Wolves? Everybody had a clean sweep?
My fault. Yeah, clean sweep. Yeah, he is under for that as well.
Cool. Another under. This is where I made up ground on you guys last year in the Western Conference, hitting these unders from these teams, and I'm going back to the well. My first note on the Pelicans is it's tough for me to go level 3 confidence on an under, but this is extremely close. And as we were going through these first few teams, and I thought about some things I'd heard on a podcast last night, I said, I'm putting this at a level 3. I don't know how you can't have tremendous concerns about Zion. It looks like he's like 300 pounds. He's got a foot injury. He's a big dude. I know all this stuff that, Marcellus has talked about and we've seen that he can do, and how he's just historically unique. Like he is a unicorn on the court offensively. But you just also look at him mentally, and even from back in high school and even at Duke, there were just times where he was just, a big grumpy guy that wasn't really happy with what was going on. I just think he's the next guy to really push himself out of New Orleans. It just seems to be a trend there. The Pelicans have also cashed the under in 5 of the past 6 seasons, including 2 times by double digits, 10+ wins. So they've been a disappointing team. I think Vegas gives out that bump because of Zion, the same way as the NBA put Zion on national TV 20 games a season. They're forcing him down our throats, and they're just raising the bar there. And I don't agree with it at all. I think the team will be atrocious defensively. Their only saving grace is playing in a weak division, but I am heavy on this under, and I think it might be moving quick with all these concerns about Zion.
What was the number again?
39.5. Like, do you really think they're going to go 40 and 42?
No,
2 games below 500?
my answer is hell no, and so is Sollenne's. I mean, I think they just have such a glut of wings right now, with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think they kind of gave up on him. It kind of seemed like his development stagnated after a good rookie year. I like him a lot. Josh Hart, Najee Marshall, Brandon Ingram. And then they drafted Trey Murphy, another guy that I like. And that's not even counting, Zion, if you count him as a wing or big, whatever the case may be. A lot of parts, a lot of guys that do a lot of the same things. And I thought you raised a good point in our group chat. It was a week or two ago that, a lot of the time, like, it's a trend we've been noticing recently, is that the Stars just want out of New Orleans, and it doesn't really make sense. It seems to be a city that, is kind of ruled by football in a way, but their fans are pretty good. And, I think it may just be that the fans don't come to every single game because there's so much to do in New Orleans, but it seems like a great city to live in. Seems, the food is obviously great, as Zion's weight gain has shown. I think it's something that's weird to me, especially with David Griffin. I think he's one of the best GMs in the NBA. I don't really see this season panning out for them. So we're going to make a clean sweep for the end of there.
I think we could go into another pod about David Griffin, but I'm just going to leave that one for now. I feel like my opinion of him is kind of souring a bit based on some stuff I've seen and heard. New York Knicks, we'll go back to the Eastern Conference, 41.5, another team that's got an over-under right around 500 mark. I've got an over with a 2 confidence level. I think Kemba's going to be really rejuvenated there. Sure, you're not going to only get him for, maybe 2/3 of the game of the season or whatever, but he's from that area. Like, he's going to love playing under the lights in MSG, and he's going to win him a few games just by going nuclear and, dropping 30 points and a bunch of threes. Same thing as last year. I was the only one on the Knicks over last year when it was comically low, and they cashed it. Thibodeau is going to play his best guys extremely heavy minutes. He's going to run them into the ground. I think the elite defense from last season should translate fairly well, although there's a little bit of concern that they, led the league in terms of opponents' 3-point percentage allowed, and that may not translate. But I think they'll do pretty decent there, although losing Reggie Bullock, I think, could come back and hurt them a little bit. After going under for 4 straight seasons, the Knicks hit their over by 18.5 wins last season. It was the earliest cash on an over-under for any team. I think it was, back in January. I'm pretty sure they cashed before the All-Star break. Give me the over, level 2 confidence.
So Sollenne has the over as well. It's weird for me because they I think it was 2 years ago now. They already had 3 or 4 big men, and then they signed another two or three in the season. I still don't understand why they drafted Obi Toppin, which is going to get me killed because he played high school basketball in my area. But just the stuff that he does is just like, I don't ever see a clear role for him in New York. Taj Gibson's a good veteran. They got Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson as well. Seems like at least 1, if not 2 of those 4 aren't going to end the season with that team, especially with RJ Barrett in the fold. I think it'll be interesting to see if like what Tibbs does going forward with Barrett, as far as if he thinks he's a wing, or if he tries to make him a big. Tibbs has been known to really be grueling some guys, defensively, really making them, get after it on that end, but kind of forcing them to play their role. So I'm interested to see if he keeps him on the perimeter. That was a lot of his game last year, but interested to see if in some lineups they go small ball with him as a big. I don't know defensively that'll hold up, but interested to see how that plays out. And then I'll just stick with my trend of talking about the 2-way guys. I really like Lucas Simonik. I probably butchered that as well, but 2nd-year player, 6'10", from Europe. Just real solid, like fundamentally rebounding the ball, scores pretty well from the low post, just a throwback big man. And Jericho Sims, 6'10", freak from Texas, just continuing a long line of, big men that kind of are underdrafted and end up performing or outperforming their draft position rather. So I think he eventually could be a player for them and makes one of these other bigs, that a little bit more expendable. So I definitely see a couple trades, and I don't understand why it wouldn't be multiple big men kind of heading out the door in New York. So give me the under on that one, actually.
Yeah, under. All right. Man, I love that you're talking about these 2-way guys, but I will say, man, if these are the guys that are making the differences on the over-unders this season, I'll be a little worried with some of these teams, but I mean, definitely gives a lot of information to the just kind of casual fan tuned in for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if something happens to Randall, whether it's an injury or anything like that, I think that's kind of like the thread that undoes everything. As
Sure.
far as what they're running there, and it's a lot of dependence on him. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a real rough postseason for him, especially shooting the ball. And I don't really think that they added a ton of shooting around him, which is definitely, the team's definitely made in the image of a Tibbs team, but I think that could continue to be an Achilles heel for them. So give me the under on that one.
Cool. Let's hit some cellar dwellers. Oklahoma City Thunder at 23.5, which I believe was the same exact number they had last season, although last season was 10 games shorter. I'm taking the under with the level 1 confidence. I'd like to bump my confidence level up a little bit more, but man, it's just sometimes it's just a little hard to be overly negative about these teams. I do think it's New Year, same story, just in terms of the overall direction of the team and Sam Presti. Lots of young guys with potential, really like the early returns on Josh Giddey. But they're not afraid to tank. They closed last year 2-23. SGA sat out for a chunk of time at the end of the season. And I don't know that he couldn't have come back earlier from that injury if they were really competing for stuff. I won't make you guess what 2 players are on the roster here, but it's an interesting trivia question I heard. 2 players on the current roster that have more than 4 years of NBA experience. So my takeaway from that is just expect tremendous growing pains and expect a team that really struggles to just do the right things to play winning basketball and to close games out. They might have a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left and below the game. I think they're going to be very susceptible to something like that. Over the last 6 seasons, teams with the lowest 4 projected win totals entering the season, of which Oklahoma City has won this year, they have hit their under 14 out of 25 times, which is 56%, so a little bit better than half. So that's why I am leaning the under on Oklahoma City.
Got you. Sollenne was also an under, and I will, man, I just think if they wanted to, they could easily get past. I think they could get to 24 wins.
For sure. They did last year, basically.
Yeah, with how hard they play. But I'm gonna take the under as well. Just because Sam Presti understands the game, and this upcoming season he has 1, 2, 3 first-round picks in addition to a second-round pick. Only one of those is theirs. They own all the other ones. I just think he's gonna try to acquire, some higher level guys. This draft has a lot of really good wings, and a couple really elite guards that I think he probably has his eyes on. So I'm interested to see who handles the ball between Giddey and Shea. And if they hold on to SGA, that's been a long rumored thing that, he's not on the trading block, but he can be had for the right price. And I think he's just uber talented and just continues to get better each year. So kind of want to see how that plays out. So give me the under on that one as well.
Yeah, I think it just could be a carbon copy of last year where, again, they had to go 2-23 at the end to close last year, and they still only hit the under by a half a game. They won 23 and their over under was 23.5. I think with a healthy SGA, he's going to make a lot of underbettors sweat it quite a bit. But yeah, like all 3 of us kind of went with, that allure of tanking and that Sam Presti doctrine, I think wins out.
Yeah.
So
I think one more thing on that. I think Jeremiah Robinson Earl is going to surprise a lot of people. He's just a real solid player. Just always makes the right play. Really good at using his body to create angles around the rim to finish. Can shoot it, from about 18 feet and in. If this was 2009, he would be like a top 10 pick, like a lottery pick, in my opinion. It's just kind of like the lack of range, and he's only 6'9", and he likes to play in the short corner or at the top of the key. Interested to see it in how his game fits in the modern NBA as well, especially with how they use him in this modern NBA versus what he was doing at Villanova. They like their guys to post quite a bit. They like to give him the ball in the high post. And I mean, he was dominant last year. He was a really consistent, dominant player, just really, really solid fundamentally. I think this year with the opportunity to play, some people will get to see what he can do. I'm guessing they're gonna have to stagger his minutes with Poku though, because that's a lot of ball dominance between those two bigs. So, anyways, under for all of us. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I was big on Robinson Earl coming out of the draft. I think I remember saying that basically of guys out of the lottery, he was like he's just NBA ready to go. So I'm also excited for him. But we're going to go to a cellar dweller in the East, the Orlando Magic, the Island of Misfit Toys. 22.5, which if I'm not mistaken is the lowest number of the entire league this year. I'm under again with a 1 confidence level. They've hit the under in 4 of 6 seasons. 3 times they've hit that under, it's been by greater than 7 wins again. So they've just had a historical track record of underachieving quite spectacularly. They're a strong contender to be the worst team in the league this season. And there's usually on average, historically, 1 to 2 teams in the NBA that will lose 60 games in an 82 game NBA season. And to lose 60, you'd be 22-60. So you would just cash that under. I think Orlando is one of those teams. They don't have the incentive to compete. There's just tons of young guys to develop during the season down the stretch. I'm still not sold on where they're going to have enough offense. I don't completely buy into the, Jalen Suggs is a winner and has won at all levels. He's going to magically fix them. This is the NBA. You're not playing high school football anymore and you'd being a dual sport athlete. Not to say I don't like Jalen Suggs, but not enough to really lift Orlando that much this season. Give me the under.
I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna take the slight over. I think they could easily be under if they just tank from the beginning of the year, and they probably would be wise to. But I think it'll be interesting to see like how they distribute minutes between Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, and Jalen Suggs, and kind of
RJ Hampton.
Right, and RJ Hampton as well, your boy. I think I agree with Bill Simmons on one thing. He's probably going to be out of there at some point this year. I mean, there's going to be an odd man out of those 4, and you get Terrence Ross as well. I like some of the guys they have. They really like these Michigan guys. They Franz Wagner, and Brazdakis on a 2-way. I think Jonathan Isaac is still out for a bit too, right? Yeah, I think Jonathan Isaac is still out for a little bit at the start of the year, if memory serves. So I'm gonna take the over, but a slight over, and that's definitely not a level 3 confidence pick.
What's the one he got for that?
He's got an under as well.
Okay. Ready to move on to the land of chaos, the city of brotherly love. Sixers 50.5.
The different land of chaos.
Yeah. I've got an under with a 1 level of confidence. I think the team had the best case scenario last season, just in terms of Embiid being fairly healthy, Simmons not being in complete revolt, and Tobias Harris, took a big step last season, and whether that's maintainable or not in the long term, we'll see. But over the 3 seasons preceding last season, they were kind of right around this, 50, 51 win pace. And I just think there's too much downside that's not baked into this line. Kind of like I think Sollenne said earlier with Golden State, there was a downside of if anything happens with Curry, they're not getting to that number. And I kind of think that's the team turmoil with Ben Simmons, the potential injury potential with Embiid. I'm worried about that. And they also play in an Atlantic division that's improving. The Knicks made strides last year. We think the Celtics will be better this season. And Toronto, we'll get to them in a little bit. But I think last season was a bit of an outlier for them. So I've got the under for Philadelphia.
What was the number on that one? 50.5?
50.5. So yeah, they would need to go 51 and 31 to hit the over. 50 and 32 or worse would be the under.
It's the Sollenne had under for that, which I feel like he's probably pretty passionate about. I don't know. I think whenever they are able to trade Simmons, I think that could be a breath of fresh air for a lot of the guys, and it can kind of be like they can just talk about basketball at that point. I think this is a team the type of team that Doc likes as far as being very veteran heavy, and there's a lot of different lineups they can throw out there. I want to see too if they keep Tyrese Maxey. I think he's one of the few really good young players that they have. Interested to see if they hold on to him or if that's someone that they deal. So I'm going to take the over on that. I need to stop being so positive though. I got a whole lot of overs here.
I got you. Yeah, I like Maxey, and my boy Paul Reed. He was my boy ever since that he came out in that draft. So yeah, I do like a bit of the young talent Philly has. They've been starting to develop it a bit more in the draft. We're gonna go to last season's runner-ups, Phoenix Suns. Similar win total, 51.5. I've got the over. I've got it with a level 2 confidence. They've hit their over by a combined 20 wins in the last 2 seasons. And they did hit their under in the preceding 4 seasons. So you can paint that as glass half full or glass half empty if you'd like, but they do have Chris Paul there now. So something weird with them, just a weird statistical anomaly, is that they have not finished within 5 wins of their projected over under in any of the past 6 seasons. So if that trend is to continue, you're not liking them to finish anywhere between 46 and 57 wins this season, which is kind of wild. I don't know if you like the chances that they get to the upper 50s or end up in the mid 40s better. They would only need to win one more game than they did last season, though, in a game that's 10 games longer, a season that's 10 games longer to cash the over. So I think Phoenix gets to 52 and 30 and cashes that over fairly easily. A little bit worried about the toll from the long season last year playing into the finals. And I think the absence of Dario Saric is a little bit overlooked, and that could be that could rear its head a little bit. But I still like the over. I think this team just the nucleus kind of came into its own. And I think if you get Chris Paul, even if he's not fully healthy, he's still going to be there in the locker room as just a incredible presence for this team. So I think the over.
Sollenne is taking the over with you. I'm sure it's in some way connected to his boy Mikal Bridges getting paid. I think that there's 2 things that lead me to the under. The first one is, kind of smaller, more minor, but it could be damaging to the team chemistry, is DeAndre Ayton not getting the max this offseason. That's something it seemed like his camp was pretty vocal about them, really, really wanting. And I don't know. At some point, the wheels are going to fall off with Chris Paul here. So I'm actually going to take the under on this one.
All right, cool. Good to see a little bit of dissension.
There we go.
We got to go to Marcellus's team. He's not here to represent, but I'll take up the mantle for Portland because I think the 44.5 over for them is comically low. This is another level 3 lock for me. A healthy Dame, CJ, and Nurkic have basically been a 500+ team easily just on their own. I think there's major addition by subtraction losing Enes Kanter and Carmelo Anthony. They historically have fared well in Northwest Division matchups. They generally tend to match up fairly well with the Jazz and the Nuggets. And that, then they'll get to play the Timberwolves and the Thunder as well in their other division matchups. They have hit their over in 4 of the past 6 seasons. They have a handful of supporting cast and younger players ready to take the next step. I do like Norm Powell. And Nas Little, your boy, has been getting a good bit of preseason hype. He's been the guy. It seems like there's one every year. It was Simons in years past. There's been other guys too. But yeah, I like. Is it no? Well, I keep getting. Is it Norm Powell that ended up there? He ended up in Toronto, didn't he? It's Gary Trent that ended up in. Now I'm getting them switched.
Gary Trent ended up in Toronto.
Okay, so Norm Powell is in Portland. I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, football brain. Yeah, so I do like Norm Powell. I thought he showed out pretty well and showed that, he could be a very capable third guard alongside Dame and CJ and put up 16 to 18 a night. Kind of, I guess, a little bit like a Jordan Clarkson role, slightly different player. But yeah. I'm going to go back to one last ace in the hole here. I think Cody Zeller is a very sneaky good defensive addition. Yusuf Nurkic has always had some injury concerns, and I think Portland did quite a bit. I think there was another move or two. I can't think of them offhand, but that I really liked.
Their names.
Yeah, that was it, to shore up their front court. And I'm big on that. I think this number is mispriced by like at least a couple of wins. I think Portland could win 50 games this year. And they're going to go all in to do everything they can to keep Dame around. I'm in on Chauncey Billups as a coach. I'm not going to touch the allegations, the stuff that went on before that, and kind of that whole awkward situation in terms of how Portland handled it as an organization. But just strictly talking in terms of what's happening on the court, I think that coaching change was needed. I think things had gotten stale in Portland. I like the over very heavy here. Lock it in.
It's going to be a clean sweep there as well. Sollenne has the over, and I do too, for the same reasons. 44.5 is stupid low. I think they bring back pretty much the same core. A lot of chatter about Dame leaving. I don't really see that happening. And agree with you on Zeller kind of shoring up their defense quite a bit. They're going to have a guy step up on the wing between Greg Brown, was just a freak of nature athletically, and Norman Powell and my guy Nazir Little as well from UNC. So
got Rocco there too.
Yep, Rocco as well. I think their big man rotation is much better this year, a little bit more versatile defensively. And I think they've made some additions around the margins. Quinn Cook signing there, Dennis Smith Jr. as well, as Anthony Simons and Macklemore with the duo of McCollum and Dame. I think that's a deep team. Yeah, they can outlast a lot of injury issues. So that's a pretty heavy over for me.
All right, let's go down the Pacific Coast a little bit. Sacramento Kings over under is at 36.5. I have the under. I have that with level 2 confidence. I think, especially with some of the news that came out yesterday.
What was that?
Marvin Bagley's agent basically calling the Kings morons for not playing Bagley in their opening night rotation. So and that doesn't even go into what I had written down originally, the Marvin Bagley and his dad versus the team in the front office and the feud or whatever they'd had with De'Aaron Fox. Like, I just think there's major issues there, and maybe Marvin Bagley ought to just look in the mirror a little bit. It's just it wasn't a good team player marriage. I think maybe he could have been more successful in other situations, but he got drafted there at number 2, and it happened. I think that's going to be something that's looked upon rather infamously, obviously down the line, given who else went high in that draft. Couple more quick notes. I am pretty heavy on the under, so these are going to be pretty negative. Luke Walton's got to be the leading candidate to be the first coach fired, right? I don't see like what he brings to the table, like X's and O's wise. It's very positive. I think he just got a lot of shine because he hung around the Lakers and the Warriors and hung around good teams. So great. They have won 37 games, which is the number they need to cash this over in just one of the past 6 seasons. They've also hit their under in 4 of the past 6. They've been historically disappointing. Do got to give some props to Davion Mitchell. I think the pick looks promising, but kind of like Jalen Suggs there, Davion is this, he's going to win, and he leads winners. It just doesn't translate to the NBA that well. Like, the NBA it's the top level of basketball in the world. So it's very rare that one guy can, especially one who followed the career arc and just statistical maturation that Davion did, that can really just come in and change things. I don't think he's going to come in and change the entire culture of that locker room in year 1. Mm-hmm. I don't see consistent scoring outside of the guards, to be honest. I mean, I think Harrison Barnes is just an enigma at this point. I think you just call him the Enigma and make that his nickname forever. Like, maybe he'll score 18 one night, then maybe he'll go for 7 and 8 the next 2 nights. I don't know. I'm just not a lot to be excited about with the Kings, and they're a pretty dysfunctional franchise. So I've got the under.
Bunch of bums. That was my Sollenne impersonation. He picked the under.
Well, they did go 4-0 in the preseason. I forgot that stat. I wanted to throw in at the very end. So yeah, they won the preseason. They're not going to win the regular season.
It's kind of like the Lions going undefeated in the preseason and then losing all of their season games. I'm going to keep it consistent here amongst the group and go with the under as well. I think Bagley is definitely a trade candidate. In addition to Buddy, I just don't
Yeah,
see.
how does that work when they basically tried to trade him all last off season? Like he's been a malcontent, and there's just too many negatives there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just really a lot for Luke Walton to sort through. And I don't know, some of the offseason stuff. I guess I just don't really understand why you don't move them. I understand you don't want to lose value, but it's the one rotten apple mentality. So give me the under there as well.
All right, not to spoil it, but we are going to close this pod on the land of positivity because I am over on the last four teams. San Antonio Spurs up first, 28.5. Give me the over. Give me a level 2 confidence on that. We all took the under on the Spurs last year. I'm not sure why. I don't know if we all forgot that Greg Popovich coached the team or what happened there. Greg for president, man. I learned my lesson betting against him last season. I think the team is more likely to be chasing that play-in tournament rather than tank, which is similar to what happened last season. Another weird statistical anomaly that I think is going to kind of iron itself out this season. They were above 500 on the road last year, but 14-22 at home. I would expect improvement on that home record to be above 500. If they go 500 at home, they're 21-20 at home, and they only have to win 8 games on the road. How is this line 29 for the Spurs? 29-53 cashes the over. I almost want to talk myself into level 3 confidence, but the only thing that concerns me is I don't really see major star power there. Everybody wants to quote the stat now that their top paid players getting $15 million a year, but you just have a lot of young guys there that I really like, and I'll let you talk about them more because I know you like them a lot too. But this is a heavy over for me. Level 2 confidence right now, and I'm floating the idea of locking it in at 3.
Yeah. Sollenne was an over, and I'm going to be an over as well. I think we were kind of assuming with the big draft that was coming up last year that Pop would kind of see the writing on the wall there and just take it as a development year. Definitely seemed like in the bubble they were content with just kind of letting the young pups kind of see, like, prove what they can do. I think there's definitely a trade or two for them to make there. I kind of want to see how the minutes play out between DeJounte Murray, Trey Jones, and my guy Josh Primo. The rumors out of camp are that they see Primo as more. Yeah, the rumors are basically that they see him. It's not even a rumor. Their GM was talking about this openly in an interview. That they see Primo as an on-ball guy, even though that wasn't really his role at Alabama. That was some of what he did in high school and AAU. Certainly has the size and the shooting ability for it. I just don't see them, sticking with all of those guards that they have. In addition, they got Derek White, Lonnie Walker, and my guy Keldon Johnson, as well as my guy from the year after that, Devin Vassell, that have all showed that they can really go. I think the big man position is one that they kind of need to shore up. Right now they have Dougie McBuckets and Thaddeus Young and Jakob Pergel as their big men. So I think there's a move to be made there. Sorry, I left out Zach Collins there. I think Zach Collins fits prototypically what they do, and I think he'll reach some of his potential there. But I think they definitely need, a big man that's going to be a shot blocker and an enforcer in the paint. They got some really good defensive guards and defensive wings. I think that they need something in the paint though. I think this is going to be a fun team for Popovich to play with, and I'm definitely taking the over as well.
Yeah, I agree with that last point. I think he'll really enjoy coaching them. And I think, again, what we missed last year, like, Popovich is a fighter. He's not going to throw in the towel. So
yeah,
I think he's kind of in the Belichick stage of things now. Tom Brady's gone. Pop has lost some of his, Kawhi, the Manu, the Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, all that. But like, Greg Popovich is still a damn good coach, if not, top 3-5, wherever you want to rank him of all time. And he'll be able to scheme up game plans that can keep his team competitive and just punching well above their weight class. Kind of like when, make a slight cross-sport reference here. New England's defense played incredibly well against Tom Brady in Tampa there a couple of weeks ago on Sunday Night Football. And that was all Belichick taking away the things that Tom Brady really wanted to do. And I think Popovich, is able to do that as well when he plays against superstar players. And also just he's able to coach his team up to far beyond the sum of their parts. So
I mean, it's a good comparison. I just never want to cheer for Belichick in any way, shape, or form. So Pop has my support, but Belichick, I'm looking forward to watching to see how that plays out, because I don't think he's going to go out on top with the Super Bowl. And as a Bills fan, there's nothing better than that. Who else we got?
Yeah. But let's hit the Toronto Raptors. My most egregious miss of last season. I was only 2-5 on my level 3 confidence picks last season, although with a little less research than this year. So you can take these confidence levels with as much of a grain of salt as you'd like. Toronto was my lock it in. I had the most riding on them last season. But I severely underestimated how much of a difference it would make to literally have your home uprooted and not play home games in Toronto and instead be in Tampa. They had hit their over in 5 straight seasons before that, and generally by significant amounts of games. I believe in Nick Nurse as a top 3 coach in the game. I believe in Masai Ujiri as a tremendous GM, and I believe in their front office. So yeah, last season's debacle where they played home games in Tampa, they did finish 27-45, which looks pretty rough. But they did lose their last 7 to close the season, which would have put them at 27-38. Their over-under is 35.5, so they've only got to go 36-46 to hit their over this season. I've got it with level 2 confidence. I'd love to lock it in at 3, but after what they did to me last year, I've kind of got to rein it in a little bit there with my enthusiasm. I am worried about Pascal Siakam's injury and have just heard some murmurs about kind of his attitude and kind of how he's approached some things mentally with the team. But they've got OG Anunoby, who's in like his 5th potential breakout season. And yeah, they can put a fearsome defensive lineup out there. And if you guys listen to me at all during the draft pod, I love me some Scotty Barnes, and he had a box score in the preseason, and I know it's the preseason, but it was like 13, 10, 7, 5, and 4 or something. I'm just like, this man's going to be a monster. So give me Toronto's over level 2.
Yeah, I've been overly positive, and I don't want to take another over, with Sollenne here, but I need to on them. Just the depth that they have, with getting Precious Achua, and also getting Dragic back, Malachi Flynn at the point guard spot with Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, OG. I'm not as big on the OG train. I think he is what he is, and we kind of understand he's a very switchable, very athletic, rebounder, defender, that's versatile and can shut some guys down. Precious is just going to be another version of that. I mean, the amount of wings that they have that they can throw against these elite wing scorers that they have in conference, and then also just in the league in the West, to potentially, lock some of these guys up in the playoffs. And that's not even including, like I said, Achua, Siakam, and Chris Boucher. Siakam is just such a question mark to me. Everything's going to be on the way up, and took a huge step back last year, and seemed to be taking a step back from the team as well, as far as just, thinking that his role is, should be bigger than what it is. I think, they got him to that point, and he needs to continue doing what he's doing. But I do like the over on that. I think 36 wins in the East is very attainable. So give me the over on that.
Yeah, I just don't feel like any of the upside for this team is baked into that. If Pascal, returns to form a little bit, gets a little better, and all the other guys that we talked about, 36 wins in the East should be achievable. Time for my team. We'll see if you stay on the train of positivity, or if this is where you want to part ways. But the Utah Jazz, 52.5. I have actually seen it at 51.5, but we've got 52.5 on our official lines. Over level 3 confidence. I'm all in. They have hit their over in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Quinn Snyder's a tremendous coach overall. There's, a few things you can nitpick with the way he handled the defensive foibles in the playoffs, and how he kind of tends to stick with plans and schemes maybe a little bit too long, but still he's gonna get this team coached up offensively. I mean, this was not a very good team offensively when he first got there in his first couple of years, and now they're probably the best candidate in the league to be top 5 in both offense and defense, and that translates. They've been within 5 wins of this total needed to cash this year, so they'd have to go 53-29 to cash the over, and they've been within 5 wins of that for each of the past 5 seasons. So they've just been constantly there, ready to take the next step. Last season, they played at a near 60 win pace. They went 52-20. So you're only asking them to win one more game this season than they did last season. And this season, again, as I'm fond of saying, has 82 games instead of 72 from last season. And their numbers were even better when viewed through the lens of advanced stats. When you look at their win pace, they had historical plus minus numbers and ratings that I think were like top 5, maybe top 5, but definitely top 10 in league history, like up with some of the great Warriors teams the past decade. My only major concern with them is the injury to the stars with Mitchell and Gobert. But I mean, what team doesn't have those concerns? Like, if you're just gonna focus and harp on that, then you probably shouldn't be, looking at this too intently to put any sort of skin in the game at all, because we can always be a negative Nelly and think about what happens when somebody gets injured. I think they did a good job of retooling this offseason. I love Jared Butler. If you give me a second round guy that is going to make an impact, not just this year, but have a long career in the league, Jared Butler, I believe he was led all rookies in preseason scoring, and I think was 4th in assists. So he started out great. I'm going to cut myself off now because I could ramble on with this here love note about my Jazz for far too long. But I was level 3 on them last year, and I'm back there again this year. This is a damn good team. Whether they figure it out in the playoffs or not, we'll see. But they've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they deserve your belief in the regular season.
I'm going to be honest. If I hadn't picked so many overs, I probably would have, picked them here. And we're just going to continue to fry Bill Simmons here. Let me make the case. I was also surprised, by the way, that it was like minute 10 that you finally touched on our boy Jared Butler, but we're going to let that slide. I mean, if Gobert does go down, and, that's definitely possible with the minutes that he plays, within the system. Defensively, I think that they have the possibility to fall apart. They got some guys in the wing that really get after it, as far as Royce O'Neal is concerned, and Joe to a lesser degree, it kind of seems to be close to retirement. But and we spoke about this offline, I think it was about 2 days ago now, but they've really shifted their focus from defensive first organization because of how the playoffs went for them to an offensive first organization. And that definitely shows in some of the guys that they have. I think Rudy Gay, will be a good addition for what they need him for, to get a bucket here and there, to be a great locker room presence and a great veteran. I just kind of wonder, if the shooting continues at the rate that it has, especially with Bogey's injury issues down the line. If Bogey goes down and Rudy goes down, they still got some shooters. And Donovan's a little streaky, but they still got Donovan, still got Joe. And, outside of that, I don't really know that I trust, anyone to really knock down shots in the playoffs, especially like we said with Conley and his injury history. So I'm going to take the under here, and Sollenne took the over.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ambitious number to hit. Yeah, I mean, I've talked them to death, so I won't rebut any of your points. The last team we've got, the Washington Wizards. Numbers at 33.5. I believe this was also the same as last season. I think them and the Thunder actually had the same numbers as they did the previous season. But anyways, I'm hitting the over on this one. I don't feel as great about it as the others. I have it as level 1 confidence. They just need to win the same amount of games they did last year, though. They went 34-38. They've got to go 34-48. They did lose Russ, and they got back, some overrated Lakers flotsam in return. Because anybody who plays for the Lakers is somehow just magically overrated. People think Alex Caruso is like a second-team All-NBA defense or something. But yeah, they've just got to win 34 games, man, and I think they're gonna be trying to compete for the play-in. Because again, top 10 teams make it. I think they're right in that in that range to be competing for that 7 through 10 play-in thing, just like last season where they I think they were the 9 seed going into it. And anyways, they got to first round and played Philly. They're trying to convince Brad Beal to stay there long term. It seemed like there's some loyalty. Seemed like that he really likes DC, but like you've got to go for it, and you've got to convince him that there's a path and a future there. I do think Spencer Dinwiddie, if he can stay healthy, is a pretty capable facsimile replacement of Russ. I do think Russ wasn't a great fit there, and I know everyone that wants to chase stats will be like, well, he had 37 triple doubles in a row or whatever, and I don't know, man. Russ is such a polarizing player, but I will just leave it at this: that I think the Wizards will be better off without Russell Westbrook there. I am intrigued by a few of their younger guys poised to take the next step. Rui Hachimura, I think, is a big one that I'm on. Still don't really know what to make of Denny Avdija, and I think Troy Brown is still floating around there. He might just be one of those guys that never really puts it together and doesn't end up sticking in the league. Oh, did they cut him? Okay. This is the other trade that
your boy Isaiah Todd is there.
No, so the other trade I get mixed up, and you'll just if you can point me in the right direction. Did they trade for Daniel Gafford or trade him away last year?
They still have him. Yep.
They traded for him from the Bulls. Yeah. He showed out at the end of the season down the stretch. Really like what he did for them. And you've got your boy, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but Rochester's own Thomas Bryant looking to come back probably a little bit after Christmas into the new year. And he was doing well before he had to miss the rest of last season with injury. So like a lot of the parts they have there, and the bottom of the East is really bad. I think they can find their way into 34 wins.
I hate that I boxed myself into this corner here, but I'm taking the under. I mean, outside. Well, first off, the picture of KCP in the Wizards jersey after the trade, he looked like someone just ran over his dog. He did not look too happy there, and I'm definitely not a big Kuzma guy. They got some intriguing, young players. Isaiah Todd, I think, if given the opportunity, can do some stuff, but I'm not exactly high on him. Bertans has really got to turn it around. The big money player on their team that they got paid and turned in a rough year last year. I do like some of the defensive minded bigs they got in Thomas Bryant, Gafford. Also have Trez. And I think that Anthony Gill, if he makes the team, he was one of my favorite players in Virginia when he was there in college. Just really gets after it defensively, communicates really well, rebounds, sets screens, does all the little things that stars do not want to do. I don't really feel like discussing the Beal situation. I think he's actually been a good soldier in the situation. I don't know why he gets such a bad rap, but he does. I think he's really, handled his business. He's always shown up as a professional and, made sure that his game was on point regardless of what was going on around him. And the dysfunction, between teammates, with John Wall, and then also continuing with what Russell Westbrook, I think he really did all that he was asked to do, and then some. So big fan of him and his game, but I am taking the under here. So believe that wraps it up.
We got all 30.
All right. Any parting shots, Jordan? And then if you don't, just let the people know where they can find, your thoughts and your words on Twitter.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to be threading these my thoughts and notes here that I talked about here today on the pod. So you'll be able to look at them in written form. You can find me on Twitter at Bilo_LC. Bilo is BILO and then _LC. I'm just going to briefly run over my what I feel are my most actionable bets. So I have 3 level confidence on overs for Atlanta at 47.5, Boston at 45.5, Denver at 47.5. And then I have 41.5 over for Memphis as a level 3. I have the New Orleans under at 39.5 as level 3. So that's 5 so far. 44.5 for Portland to go over. I have level 3. And then I have 7, the same amount as last year. So the Jazz are my last. I have 52.5 as a level 3 confidence for over. So I have 6 overs and 1 under as level 3 confidence. And I will be doing a bit of shopping this afternoon, and we'll see how smart I am. That's not fair for me to put my thoughts out there and then not put a little bit of my own skin in the game. So
there you go. There you go. Appreciate having you on, man. Sollenne he has the worst bio in Twitter history and alleges that I owe him a McChicken, and that is false. I did pay him the $1.50 for that. Just want to let the record stand there. He's a bum. You can find him
he's
at
getting married today, right?
Nah, his cousins get married today.
Oh, okay.
So his ad on Twitter is TSOLLENNE, and mine, as always, at PR0IA at Hoop Threads Pod. Appreciate you coming on, Jordan, and we'll talk soon.
Likewise, stay frosty.